Dana White, being the UFC president, doesn't necessarily imply impartiality. When he has strong feelings about a fight, you can be sure that he'll express his opinions to the public, one way or another. And now, without further ado, here are 10 fights that pissed off Dana White. Chuck Liddell and Tito Ortiz had a long-standing history, with Liddell being a close friend to Dana White during his prime in the sport. On the contrary, Tito Ortiz, who was once on good terms with the UFC president, became one of his prominent adversaries.
Tito and I hated each other. You know how many times Tito fought that I wanted to see him just get his ass whooped? Every time he got beat, it was absolute fun for me.
When Ortiz, along with Dana White's other rival, Oscar De La Hoya, announced Liddell's comeback after 8 years of retirement, it didn't sit well with Dana.
Chuck's almost 50 years old. I love Chuck Liddell, and as a friend, I don't think he should fight. And anybody around him who cares about him shouldn't let him fight either.
Tito went on to defeat Liddell via TKO and celebrated as if he had just won a UFC championship, making it an easy target for criticism.
Anybody who claims to be a friend of Chuck Liddell and was anywhere near this fight is full of they're not a friend of Chuck Liddell. I hope somebody talks De La Hoya into fighting again, and I hope he gets knocked out just like Chuck Liddell did in the first round. Cokehead nutball.
In facing a formidable opponent like Yoel Romero, it's crucial to manage risk levels in combat sports. However, when Israel Adesanya specifically called out Romero to enhance his resume, fans anticipated an explosive showdown.
Right here is a guy that no one ever calls out. I want to test myself against everyone of this era who's a beast. And he's a beast, so I'm gonna test him.
Despite coming off a loss, Adesanya's strategy didn't involve engaging in a high-intensity battle. The resulting title fight with Romero turned out to be one of the most uneventful in UFC history. Adesanya secured the win, but the low output made it a close contest. This decision cost Adesanya some fans, and Dana White couldn't help but feel embarrassed by the underwhelming main event he had fervently hyped up.
Be pissed off in Abu Dhabi after the Anderson Silva-Demian Maia fight. Was your level of disappointment the same with this one as you were after that?
Yeah, this was a terrible fight. I mean, if you look at the UFC as a whole, for as long as we've been doing it, you can literally put in one hand shitty fights that we've done, you know what I mean? The matchmakers didn't love that fight and didn't want to make that fight. But the goofy fan in me said, are you shitting me? Come on, this will be a fun fight to do. Now, hindsight is 2020. Probably shouldn't have done that fight. We should have waited for Costa, but oh well. I was shocked to see the way that he fought tonight. He had a rough night and he had a bad showing, and I don't know.
Moving on to the bout that essentially tarnished Mario Yamasaki's career, the decision to pit Valentina Shevchenko against Priscilla Cachoeira proved to be ill-fated. While Shevchenko was undoubtedly a formidable opponent at 125 pounds, the matchup with Cachoeira was far from equitable. In reality, it turned out to be a complete mismatch, with Shevchenko showcasing her dominance over Cachoeira from the opening bell to the final moments, delivering an overwhelming amount of punishment. To emphasize the one-sided nature of the fight, Shevchenko landed an impressive 217 strikes compared to Cachoeira's meager one. When questioned about why he didn't intervene, Yamasaki explained that he wanted to afford the underdog a chance to display warrior spirit. Unsurprisingly, this decision did not sit well with Dana White.
He said that he was allowing Priscilla to be a warrior. What do you think about that statement?
I think it's disgusting. I think it's disgusting. I think he's disgusting, and I never want to see him reffing ever again. For that idiot to say that he gave her the opportunity to be a warrior, no, you moron. You're in there to protect her from herself. He makes me sick. That guy has no business reffing fights, and I promise you, you're not going to see him again.
Leading to Yamasaki's absence from any UFC event since then. This bout not only served as the headliner for a crucial UFC pay-per-view card, but also played a significant role in the organization's efforts to establish a presence in the Middle Eastern market, marking their first official show in Abu Dhabi during the Zuffa era. Everything seemed to be going according to plan, with high expectations for the fights to deliver. However, the main event showdown between Anderson Silva and Demian Maia for the middleweight title turned out to be a peculiar and underwhelming contest. While Silva clearly respected Maia's elite grappling skills, the champion's behavior during the fight detracted from any sense of competitive tension. Silva seemed to avoid direct confrontations, and his antics throughout the match led to a lackluster spectacle. In the aftermath, Dana White publicly criticized Silva for his performance, going as far as calling the main event an embarrassment.
I don't think I've ever been more embarrassed in the 10 years of being in this business.
Is this your lowest moment as president of UFC?
No doubt about it. Absolutely, 100%. I didn't go in and fight like a jackass for 5 rounds. I'm embarrassed, and I feel like I should apologize to the fans, and I feel like I owe the fans one. What happened tonight was an absolute disgrace, an embarrassment for the UFC, an embarrassment for the sport, and I don't know if I've ever been more embarrassed than I am.
Dana White had already grown critical of Francis Ngannou after his one-sided loss to Stipe Miocic at UFC 220. Ngannou attempted a comeback at UFC 226 against the hard-hitting Derek Lewis. The fight, expected to be a clash of powerful punchers, turned out to be rather uneventful for most of the 3 scheduled rounds. Surprisingly, Lewis secured the decision victory. Dana, attributing Lewis's performance to a back injury, gave him a pass, and instead criticized Ngannou for his perceived overblown ego and how he handled the situation.
Francis Ngannou, I mean, he had so much momentum behind him going into the Stipe fight, shows the flaws in his game a little bit, then comes back and has this fight where he throws, 17 strikes the entire fight, something like that. Where do you feel a guy like that goes from here?
Horrible. I think that everybody was talking about him. I thought he was going to be the next guy. I think his ego ran away with him big time. I can tell you that his ego absolutely did run away with him. The minute that happens to you in the fight game, start to fall apart. And this guy's ego just was so out of control. Ego is what hurt Francis Ngannou.
Even if you're considered one of the all-time greats in combat sports, it doesn't guarantee immunity from the displeasure of someone like Dana White. Take George St. Pierre, for instance. After a closely contested match with Johnny Hendricks, where many thought GSP might lose his crown, the decision went in his favor. However, the real trouble arose when St. Pierre declared his retirement from the sport. This move left the division without its champion and, in the eyes of fans, somewhat devalued the title since he never officially lost. Dana White, far from being pleased, expressed his dissatisfaction in the post-fight press conference, criticizing St. Pierre for walking away after such a performance.
See George get smashed and hurt in the first round? It's about damage. I want what's fair, and that wasn't fair. That decision that happens, right? You don't just say, hey, I'm going to take a while off, maybe I'll be back, maybe I won't. You owe it to the fans, you owe it to that belt, you owe it to this company, and you owe it to Johnny Hendricks to give him that opportunity to fight again.
At times, Dana White exhibits a lack of enthusiasm for certain champions, while other instances see him envisioning dollar signs when an emerging contender captures the spotlight. UFC 228's headline clash between Tyron Woodley and Darren Till encapsulated both scenarios. Woodley, though enjoying an impressive reign in the 170-pound division, failed to captivate audiences. On the other hand, Till, a young and bold prospect, had risen to the top 5 rankings before UFC 228, with the promotion seemingly fully supporting him. However, on fight night, Woodley proved to be a formidable challenge. In the second round, he not only knocked Till down, but also secured a Darce choke, prompting the tap. Despite this victory, Dana White's dissatisfaction with Woodley's continued reign was palpable. It didn't take long for White to resume taking jabs at the champion through the media.
You've left the octagon with your black belt and your title. Have you spoken to Dana White?
I haven't spoken to him yet. Did he already come in here?
No.
He left. No, I hadn't talked to him.
The matchup between Dennis Hallman and Brian Ebersole may not hold significant importance in MMA history, except for one memorable aspect. Hallman made a unique entrance to the octagon, opting to fight in a pair of Speedos. This occurred before the era of Reebok and Venom sponsorships, making his unconventional choice of fight attire quite conspicuous. Dana White promptly criticized Hallman, describing his decision as disgusting.
Dennis Hallman, disgraceful, would you say? I mean, how did you feel about that?
I'd call it disgusting. That was disgusting. For the first time ever, I'm giving out a thanks for getting those horrifying shorts off TV as soon as possible bonus. And I'm not joking. First of all, I'm pissed off that somebody that works for me let him come out with those on. Number one, it was not good. It will never happen again, I can guarantee you that. That's the last thing you want to be remembered for, is going out there and making people watch 5 minutes of that.
Although Hallman later revealed that it was a result of losing a bet, the incident had already made its mark. Dana White's disapproval of Tyron Woodley can be attributed to a combination of factors. On one hand, Woodley's frequent complaints in the media likely contributed to the strained relationship. On the other hand, his fighting style, particularly in matches against Stephen Thompson and Demian Maia, drew criticism. While Woodley's approach was highly tactical and effective in 5-rounders, Dana White expressed dissatisfaction, especially after the UFC 214 bout where Woodley successfully defended against Maia's takedown attempts, but received harsh criticism for his low output in the title defense.
What did you think watching that fight?
About watching what fight?
The Woodley fight and then beating Maia.
What did you think about watching the Woodley fight? That fight was anything but special. I don't even want to relive that fight in my head for another second. I mean, this sums it up. They broke a record tonight. The least punches ever thrown in the crappiest fight you've ever seen was 130 punches. They threw 60. That's how bad the fight was.
Not pleased with Tyron Woodley's performance?
They broke the record for the least punches ever thrown in a title fight. There's not much to be pleased with or to talk about. I mean, what really is there to talk about in that fight? When you get booed out of an arena, it means people don't want to watch you fight.
While some might have viewed it as a champion overcoming a tough opponent, Dana White seemed unimpressed. Draws are a rare occurrence in the realm of mixed martial arts, and when it happens in a title fight, especially one for a vacant championship belt, things can get messy. Jan Blachowicz and Magomed Ankalaev were tasked with ushering in a new era for the 205-pound division in the absence of the injured champion, Jiri Prochazka. However, after 5 underwhelming rounds, Dana White was furious with the lack of determination shown by these fighters.
What are you gonna do? I think the main event was terrible. You know, what are you gonna do?
Did you have anybody winning in the main event? Did you have it?
I don't even know. I started to zone out after like 3 rounds, so.
The fact that the bout was declared a draw put White in an awkward position. Instead of opting for a rematch, he expressed his frustration in the post-fight interview and essentially ruled both men out. As a result, Jamal Hill and Glover Teixeira were given the opportunity to fight for the vacant championship belt. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to show your support by giving it a thumbs up and hitting that subscribe button. Stay tuned so you never miss out on any future content. Appreciate you watching, and we look forward to having you with us in the next one.